What's going on, y'all? It's your boy June Archer here, the Winner Circle on thisis50.com. Motivate you, the place for motivation and inspiration to help you live your dreams. Everything about entertainment and music right here. My guest today, Grammy Award winning, gold, platinum selling artist, founder of the iconic group Arrested Development. Please welcome to the show, Speech, what's going on, brother?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to talk to you, brother.
Man, I'm so happy to have the opportunity to sit down with you, man, and just talk shop about a few things. And we're here to talk about the new album, Don't Fight Your Demons, out now. It dropped in September, but it is gaining traction. And I want to talk about that. But before we get into that, Speech, brother, how have you been and how are the members of Arrested Development doing?
I've been good. Like the whole COVID-19 thing has affected me just like everybody else. There's no touring, no shows, less income, but I've been working like in the yard more, cutting down trees and doing yard work and like, and then working on self, you know what I'm saying? Working out in general and just like spending more time with the family. And so those types of things have, so it's a double-edged sword on that tip. And I think it's similar with the group. Like I was just with Ishi, one of the members of the original crew, and yesterday, and she was saying the same thing. Like she's just like reinvented herself in a sense, and maybe more so found herself during this whole pandemic. So like just being forced to slow down has been good, and my family's healthy. None of my personal family's been affected by it, but I have unfortunately lost a lot of soldiers that I'm really close with, and it's sad. And I definitely mourn with them and their families, but my personal family has been all right.
I'm glad to hear that. For you, this must be a great time for you to kind of dig in, create. You guys are normally on the road around this time, ramping it up. How has it been creatively for you? In the group, and as well as potentially working on some solo stuff to kind of sit there. Seems like you're in the studio right now and kind of put your nose to the grindstone and kind of dig in and create. How has that been for you?
It's been great. Like the entire album, Don't Fight Your Demons, which was just dropped on September 25th. That joint was done all during COVID, which was really, really some like heavy lifting and great. Just digging in, really focusing on the music. And then I also did some solo material that I'll drop. I was going to drop it near my birthday, which is October 25th, but I decided to wait because like you said, Don't Fight Your Demons is getting traction, and I didn't want to, cloud the issue. I wanted folks to be able to really pay attention to this record. And so I'm going to push this solo material, album called Expansion, to the top of 21. And just keep focusing on Don't Fight Your Demons because, from the 90s, I understand like how records can actually continue to climb and do really well if you give them a chance to shine. And I want to give this record, Don't Fight Your Demons, a shine, a good chance to shine.
And I appreciate that because I think if you let this thing breathe, Speech, I want to dive into a little bit of the meat. So just rock with me. I want to talk about, I think the album is incredible.
Thank you.
Production is super dope. It reminds me of the boom bap. It brings me back to what I love about hip hop.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the track Young Americans.
Yeah.
When I listen to this track, Speech, it hits me where it counts. Especially when you're traveling abroad, when you're traveling this globe, which you have done a couple times over. And this is going to be a second piece to this. In the record, there's a perspective from a foreigner on the way that they look at Americans, right? And how we do it over here, the swag, Black Americans.
Yeah.
Do you believe with that record, do you believe the perception that is outside of the United States? Do you think as people of color, Black people especially, do you feel like we have a responsibility to represent the culture a little bit better than we have been historically? When you talk about gun violence, when you talk about black on black crime, when you talk about non-people of color trying to find a crutch or a reason to say, well, all lives matter. Look what you guys are doing. You guys are killing yourselves. So why would you say Black Lives Matter?
Yeah.
With that record, it just kind of hit home and saying, you know what, we have to do better. But from your perspective, your view, you wrote the lyrics.
Yeah.
You believe we owe it to ourselves that we have a responsibility to represent the culture a little bit better?
Well, that's a great question. First, I wrote the lyrics and beat on that joint, and that's how personal this record is for me. Like, yes, we do have a responsibility, bro, because what we're presenting out there really isn't the truth of us. Like, we're only presenting a very small slither of who we are as Black people. So we obviously are diverse as Black people. We're not just one thing. So we've got to get that diversity of all of our voices back into the scene, because people overseas are only getting like people that's never been to the States personally. They live overseas, whether it's, Ethiopia or Africa, or, wherever, Brazil. It's like they only see us from the TV shows, and the TV shows that happen to make it over there. It's not even every TV show that gets over there. So a lot of times it's stuff like Housewives or, Love and Hip Hop or whatever. And I'm not dissing these shows. I'm just simply saying that when it's only one perception you're getting of us, then that's all they got. That's all the information they got. Similar to how we've been duped in the United States with thinking that Africa is all poor and everybody's got a fly on their face and there's no high rises, no gorgeous neighborhoods, that is all poor. Because a lot of us, we make fun of Africa and we say, yo, I never want to go to Africa. That's like, there ain't nothing there. And the truth is there's a lot there. But we get fed these images, and it's the same on the opposite end. They're getting fed these particular images of one slither of our population, and they're drawing their conclusions accordingly. So even when you get like some African artists that say like they ain't down with Black artists, and there becomes this beef between African artists sometimes and Black artists, because sometimes African artists have only been fed one image of us and they ain't down with that image. And so they're feeling like all of us are like that. And the truth is there's a wide variety here, but if you don't come here in person, you wouldn't know that. So the song Young Americans is just talking about those different perceptions. And so me and this sister, which has really happened to me in real life numerous times, we're going back and forth about the differences about what you perceive about America and Black America and what actually is going on in Black America. So so that's why that song means so much to me.
How important is it, especially people of color, to get their passport and travel? I know we're in COVID right now. I know the world is a little upside down, looks a little different, but you've been able to travel the globe, Speech. You have a different perspective. How important is it for that person to see outside of their community, to see outside of the 4 blocks that they grew up on, and travel the world to kind of see, hey, wow, like people around, like people outside of where I live, like they look different, and some of it is similar, right? Exactly. Some of them like the music that I like, and there's different music. It's not just this kind of music. It's not this kind of food. How important is it? How important is that passport?
To me, bro, I'll be honest, like from 1 to 10, 10 being the most important, 1 being least important, it's a 10. Because honestly, when you, especially as a Black person, because we're also fed, I was telling you a second ago about how Africans in a lot of other countries see us as Blacks from the media, but even our own selves on the media, I'm almost 52, so I've been around for a second. So there was times when we weren't even in the media. We had to watch white shows because we weren't even being represented at all, hardly. Now we are represented, but not like I'd say probably 7 or 8 times out of 10, it's a lot of demeaning stuff about what we're doing that gets picked up and broadcasted, right? So I think the truth of the matter is we have this self-perception that number one, America is all there is. Like America is everything around the world. And it's not true. And then we also have this perception of ourselves, sometimes self-hatred, not liking our dark skin, not liking the way we look naturally, not liking our kinky hair, stuff like that. So the truth is, it's so important to travel when you get to see the diversity of who we are as Black people. You get to see all these beautiful places. And most importantly, bro, and I'm talking about beautiful places in Black areas. I'm not talking about just Europe or Paris. Everybody talks about Paris, which is it is beautiful. And a lot of these other places. I'm talking about Black places, gorgeous, high-rise, beautiful places, and great opportunities for us, like really great business opportunities for us. Like Ghana is doing programs to help Black people from America start businesses there. A lot of us wouldn't know that. And so I think it's so important for us to get out and start to see our potential, because America can sort of keep us in a small little box. So, yeah.
And this place is in Africa that look like Manhattan. They look like
They
downtown
look
Atlanta.
like Manhattan. You're exactly right. Exactly right.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I want to talk about another record, man. I fell in love with, and there's a line in there that I love, and I want to see if I can have you step out. We'll see. We'll see. Great record. The message in the record is dope. In that record, you have a line that says, "I asked the legend to spit a hot 16," and he said, They said the feeling no longer exists. Just want to make sure I quote that properly. Yeah. You asked them to spit a 16, and they said the feeling no longer exists.
Yeah. Something like I asked them to spit 16.
Who was it? Can you say that with us?
I said I asked him to spit 16, and like BB King, the thrill no longer exists, something like that. And like, yeah, I mean, I can't tell you. Well, I could tell you who it is, right? But I'm trying to respect the bro's privacy, because it's funny, because the same bro ended up doing records with other people. So I don't know what that's about. You know what I'm saying? Like,
all right, I'm gonna
maybe that was some personal stuff he was doing with me. I don't know. So that's why I don't want to call him out. But I will say this.
I respect that. I respect that.
I have run into a couple legends for real, like that are just calling it quits for numerous reasons. They're either saying that there ain't really no way to make money off the music anymore, which is pretty close to true. It's tough because nobody buys records, by and large. And it's, you're not touring right now with COVID. So it's like, okay, well, what justifies the money you're about to pay to make this record? Why, saying? So like, it is a give and take, but there has been a number of legends that are just like calling it quits. And it's sad to me because, we're 50 years old. Some of the people I've been talking to are in their late 40s, early 50s. And for rock legends and people that do other genres of music, you got so much of a nice lifespan, that you really could be doing stuff till you're 70 years old if you want to. And unfortunately for hip hop, we've allowed it to be so disposable sometimes, you know what I mean? Where we just let it like, yeah, he's, that's old school. When I was it's funny, I'm not going to go too long winded. I know I'm just speaking, but there was this dude on Twitter recently that was like, yo, I love the old school. And I'm like, it is old school, I guess, but you're talking about Arrested Development. And I was like, but the truth is, Leaders of the New School with Busta was before us, and he just released a record last week or a week before, I forget. And so my point is like, yo, don't look at it like that. Like the whole genre is still relatively young if you look at it properly. And just because a brother's 50 or more doesn't mean he's getting worse. It should mean he's getting better. So like, peep the skills even more. I feel like I've gotten better.
And I feel like those who get this album, Don't Fight Your Demons, is going to see that you put in the work. We're talking about Tennessee. We're talking about Everyday People. We're talking about Mr. Wendell. You put the work and you went above and beyond the 10,000 hours, right? Yeah. So to me, I can appreciate this album because I know the work, I know the catalog, but when you listen to the lyrics, you listen to the music, speech, there's a lot of love still left in there. You still got a lot of in that tank to go, and you got something to say. And I think that's important, especially if you love this genre of music and you just want to hear somebody say something. It doesn't matter. Jay-Z's on the precipice too. Like he's pushing those numbers as well. But when you come out with something that's so relevant that hits you and you still got a little something in the tank, I think that says a lot. And I appreciate you being able to drop that. I want to talk about Pardon Your Disruption.
Yeah.
That record is dope, and I don't want to get this line, so I'm gonna read this because I have my notes here. Um, I get depressed, but I press through.
Yeah.
I love that line because there are people that are going through something right now, whether it's COVID, whether they're losing their job, they're losing their businesses, they've lost a loved one.
Yeah.
For you, I want to talk about that line. I want to talk about that song speech and how important is it to kind of work on mental health for a lot of people that they're down and out, man, that they're feeling it. Is there a word of encouragement? Or I'll say this, is there a word of wisdom that you were given that
Yeah.
allowed you to even recite that lyric that you could
Yeah,
share
bro.
with somebody watching or listening that's going through those things that we just talked about?
Man, I really appreciate that. The truth is that I would say a few things. One is, and I say this on the record, pardon you for disrupting. I'm saying, like, I get depressed, but I press through. More or less, I guess I just get through. And I do think that one of the things that I've been able to do, because like therapy is, at least in my experience, is expensive. So like the therapists that I know of, at least, they're $100 or more an hour. So like if you're trying to really talk, you talking real money. And if you go, because usually you're not going to get your issues untangled, what's going on in your mind and heart untangled in one session. So you're going to be going to a therapist a lot. I'm not against therapists. I think they're extremely important. And I've been to therapists numerous times. But there has been many times where I have to make a decision. Like, am I going to go to this therapist? I'm driving an hour out. I'm driving an hour back. I'm spending an hour there. I'm spending this X amount of money. And it's not just this week, but every week I'm spending that amount of money plus all the other bills and the realities that I have. And so I tell people too that if you can afford therapy or if you have a connection on therapy, do it. It's beautiful. Not all therapists are the same. So you're going to have to find that right fit. It's almost like those that go to church and they say they church shop, and you're going to have to therapist shop. Not all therapists are equal, and not all therapists are really good at whatever you might be dealing with. So you might need to, go around and find the right one for you and the right fit for you financially and, compatibility. But also I would tell people to do a lot of personal development. So I read a lot of books. I listen to a lot of books. I read the scriptures. I pray a lot. I walk a lot. So these are things that are free. So like I can, many books are on YouTube. I can get those for free. Walking through nature can sort of clear your mind sometimes. You're around too much confusion and too many different opinions, and being on social media can confuse you a lot of times and confuse you as to what's the most important priorities in your life, and you trying to keep up with everybody. You know what I mean? So I think doing more nature walks and just retreats, if you want to call it that, is so important to help self-development. And then the last thing, because I did this with my movie 16 Bars. We could talk about it if you want later, but basically using art, like even if you are not a professional like we are, we're in this business, but even if you're not in this business, just use art, man. Like pick up a guitar or turntables or, a mic or whatever you want to do and just start expressing. Because a lot of this record, and even the point of the album title, is trying to trying to work out what these demons are about in myself. And art is a great way to, sort of work out a lot of those tangled wires that's going on in us. And I'm really glad that us as a Black community is starting to talk about mental health more often, because, it's a very prevalent thing in our community. And we definitely need to start dealing with the trauma, the inner turmoil that we've been going through as a whole, but also individually, our family dysfunction, our generational curses, in a sense, that we've been going through. So there's a lot there, bro, to work out.
And I realized while listening to the album, is very deeply rooted. Like the foundation is a very spiritual foundation. You even have a song called Ecclesiastes on there,
Yeah.
right? What do you want people to walk away with after listening to Don't Fight Your Demons?
That's a great question. I hope that at the end of the day, it's a record of perseverance, hope, inspiration. Like, I'm gonna keep fighting. I'm gonna, and I want to be better. Like, I want to evolve basically. And it's not me telling people to evolve. It's us evolving together. So that's what I would hope people can get away with it at the end of it.
And I'm glad you brought up the project, because I wanted to ask you about that. What was the inspiration behind 16 Bars?
So here's the deal. Like, me and my manager, we talk, like most managers and artists do, and we both saw this special on CNN called by Lisa Ling, this woman that does these specials, and it's called This Is Life. Well, one episode was in this Richmond, Virginia jail where she had a daddy and daughter dance that she was documenting. And I saw these dudes who was locked up. Their daughters, little baby girls, was with them, black men, all black men. And it was one of the most moving things. And my manager called me. He's like, Speech, are you watching? And he's Australian. He's white Australian dude. He's like, are you watching this? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, this is so moving. I was like, you know what? You're right. It's incredible. And he said, I know you've been trying to do something with the prison industrial complex and changing things around. And he said, what if we reached out to them? Because this jail, whoever the sheriff is at this particular jail, has a great vision for these men. And I was like, yeah, we should. And so we called them up, and they were so excited. Like, we told them I wanted to come in there, do some work with the inmates, which I call them residents. And I learned to call them that from the sheriff, actually. And he was like, yo, call the residents. They're only here for, this is a transition. They're not going to be here forever. These aren't inmates. These are residents. And it's like, and I went there, started doing some music with these dudes, and documented the entire experience. And it's called 16 Bars. It's out on Amazon right now. It's out on YouTube, Vudu, and a lot of different, platforms. Won a lot of awards for me and my crew as well. So it's been a journey of love on that one.
No, definitely. And I recommend and highly suggest that those who are watching and listening take the opportunity, take a few minutes, turn off the Love and Hip Hop. No disrespect. We have friends on those shows, but
No
balance
doubt,
it out and find something of substance that you could kind of just, dive into, man, and just turn something else on and have your mind thinking about something else. You've been doing this over 20 years, Speech. What motivates you at this point?
Bro, that's a great question. I think it's this inner fire, because at the end of the day, bro, I have thought about quitting more times than I could tell you. And like, whether it be because of lack of money at times, whether it be because of lack of respect, I talk about that on the song Forsaken, the Forsaken. So I feel like I don't get my just due in the hip hop world a lot of times. And so I've thought about, quitting. And then, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but there's times when you think about it and you're pretty much considering doing it. And then now that that's on the table, it don't feel right. It don't feel right. Like something inside of you is like, nah, I ain't doing that. You know what I'm saying? I want to go back into the ring. You know what I'm saying? Let me fight one more time. You know what I mean? And I think that's that thing. It's just this inner fire that tells me, nah, there's more for you to do, Speech. So that's what keeps me pushing.
And it's a battle, right? Like, you have to really think of it. Like, it's really like going into war. Like, you have to put your feelings. It has to, like, on that pen and paper. Like, you go in the booth, you're banging out these beats, chord progressions, chords, vocal production. Like, it's a lot that goes into it. You're pretty much bearing your soul, and you're birthing this thing into the universe. And you guys had so much success. You've had so much success to a point where people will call you guys. Oh, you guys are. I don't want to use the word sellout. You guys are pillars of what we call hip hop in different genres. But I was reading not too long ago that you literally, at the height of it, when you guys were in your zone and in a rhythm, like, you walked away from $1 million check from Pepsi.
From Coke.
From Coke.
Yeah,
everybody,
bro.
Everybody can't do that. And I want to ask you, what was it that allowed you to make that decision? And you obviously have lived with that decision. Whether, bandmates were like, dude, like, we really could have split that.
Yeah,
a
yeah,
couple of ways and been good. Like we would have been
yep,
good. You
yep.
know, what allows you, because you're so deeply rooted in the spirit and very spiritual, what allowed you to walk away from that, knowing that, you know what, all money ain't good money?
Bro, that's a great question. Let me just say that first of all, before we ever blew up as a group, I'd seen numerous groups that I loved, man, and artists blow up. And then I also saw them over the years die broke. Some of them literally die broke. A lot of them will go up, go back down, and they're broke. And they didn't do a lot of change to our culture while they had that chance. Like while they had everybody's earlobes, they didn't grab everybody by the ear and do what they could have done. And so when we had that chance, I was like, you know what? Like that was one of the burning fires in me as well. I was like, you know what? This is our chance. Like this is my moment now. And what am I going to do with this? Am I going to do the same thing that I saw with other people that I really respect? Or am I going to try to actually make some things happen? And so that was the conviction I had. And like back in hip hop culture in the 90s and the late 80s, there was this integrity to the art form because it really wasn't as big as it's gotten now. And so we were still sort of shaping that beast. You know what I mean? We were, if you look at it like pottery, we were still shaping the piece. And it was like I personally and a lot of others like EPMD, they did a song No Crossover. You had Gangstar that did Mass Appeal. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like people was on the tip of like, nah, we're not trying to sell this music out. And even when MC Hammer did the Popeyes commercial, I think it was Popeyes Chicken, he did a popcorn shrimp type
Yeah,
of commercial.
yeah,
And most people in hip hop was really, it was a backlash because it was like you selling it out. And I personally am of that belief too. I know things have changed like crazy now, but I'm just saying back then it wasn't the move. And I felt like, nah, man, we have a chance to make the right statement. This is our moment. And I don't regret it, man. Like at the end of the day, it did bring a little bit of tension between me and some of the crew members because like some of the crew didn't have that same conviction I had, but I was the leader of the crew and I had to make a decision. And for me, I want to be able to sleep at night. You know what I mean? And so
right.
I read certain comments even now, and people will say, "Yo, you stupid, man. Blah blah blah. I bet you want that money now." And and look, the truth is, there's times I do want the money. So now you still got to make that decision, though, because
Right.
at the end of the day, you still got to sleep with yourself. You still got to be able to live by something, whether you live by whatever constitution you have or other people have or me. But I got to live by my constitution, and I did that. And at the end of the day, man, I feel good about it. I feel like what. It's part of our story now. That's part of what we stood for.
No, that's dope. That's dope. I appreciate you for even sharing that, man. And I'm loving just the conviction and just the transparency. So right about now, brother speech of Arrested Development. We've been playing this game called University of Dope. So I want you to step inside University of Dope with me. Unpopular opinions are welcome. We are having fun. And speech, if you're ready,
Yeah,
let's make it happen.
cool.
First question, University of Dope. The most influential rap song of all time. What is it? A, The Message by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. B, Rapper's Delight, Sugar Hill Gang. C, Planet Rock, Africa Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force. Or D, Sucker MC's Run DMC.
Rapper's Delight, Sugar Hill Gang to me, man. That was like, to me, the most influential joint.
Nice.
Yeah.
If someone wanted to experience hip hop for the first time, what album would you give them? A, Low End Theory, A Tribe Called Quest. B, Enter the Wu-Tang, 36 Chambers, The Wu-Tang Clan. C, Straight Outta Compton, NWA. Or D, Paid in Full, Eric B. and Rakim.
Dang, that's a hard one. I'm gonna say D, Eric B. and Rakim, Paid in Full.
All right. You're stranded on a deserted island, but you can only listen to one album. What will it be? A, Black on Both Sides, Most Def. B, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. C, 3 Feet High and Rising, De La Soul. Or D, The Chronic, Dr. Dre.
That's gonna be C, 3 Feet High and Rising, De La. It's one of my favorite records, man.
Pick the best rap group from the following: A. Cypress Hill, B. The Roots, C. Slum Village, or D. Salt and Pepper.
I love all of them, but the Roots, B, by far, the Roots is my favorite out of those four.
You gotta rock the stage with only one. Choose your hype man: A. Spliff Star, B. Flavor Flav, C. Freaky Tide, or D. Little John.
I'm gonna go with Flavor Flav all day long, man. Flavor Flav is the best hype
Flavor
man.
Flav.
I love it.
Reinstate one back into hip hop. Who would you choose? A. Guru, B. Jay Dilla, C. Nate Dogg, or D. Big Pun?
Always A. Guru. That's like my brother, man. Guru all day long.
Gifted, unlimited rhymes, universal.
Universal.
Erase one from hip hop history if you had to. Who would it be? A. Swiss Beats, B. Dr. Dre, C. The RZA, or D. Timbaland?
That's hard for me. I love all of them, but A. Swiss Beats. I gotta keep the other three.
All right. If these four MCs were on the same track today, who would come out on top? A. LL Cool J, B. Rakim, C. KRS-One, or D. Big Daddy Kane?
KRS-One, letter C. KRS-One originality would I think he would rise to the occasion.
All right. I'll be honest, I'd love to hear that record.
Me too. That would be ridiculous. I would love to
hear that record.
That'd be ridiculous.
One gotta go. Who would it be? A. Leaders of the New School, B. Beastie Boys, C. Arrested Development, or D. Black Sheep?
A. Leaders of the New School, but I love Busta and I love the group, but I would have to say A. Leaders of the New School gotta go. I gotta keep Arrested Development, of course.
Given the time, speech, stay woke. Best politically conscious song. Is it A. Fight the Power, Public Enemy, B. F the Police, NWA, C. Hip Hop, Dead Prez, or D. My President, Jeezy?
Definitely Fight the Power, Public Enemy. Classic. Absolute classic. All of those are classics, but that one, A.
Erase one person from hip hop history. Would it be A. Nas, B. The Notorious B.I.G., C. Tupac, or D. Jay-Z?
That is the most unfair question ever. Oh my God.
It is the last question.
Oh my gosh. That's ridiculous. Well,
break it down, speech. Break it down. Let's work it out.
I'm gonna have to say the Notorious B.I.G. That's what I'm gonna have to say. That's a tough question.
That's a tough one. But unpopular opinions are welcome. Speech, thank you so much for playing University of Dope with me. Listen, music is a soundtrack to our lives, man. And you've created a lot of great music over the years. You've given hip hop a lot of great music and a lot of your love, blood, sweat, and tears. What song best represents, or what artist best represents your journey up to this point that you could share with us today?
Yeah, I would have to say Redemption Song by Bob Marley. And that, that song is pretty much the soundtrack to what I do.
Wow. I love it. I love it.
Yep.
For those who are trying to make it, we talked about it a little earlier, but just a gem, just a word of encouragement that you could give somebody who's trying to find the light at the end of the tunnel. You found it numerous times. You've been there. You made it out. The lyric is, I get pressed, but I press through. If there's a word that you could give someone, just one word that could allow them to see that light at the end of the tunnel, what would it be?
I would say that each one of you are born an original. You are supposed to do something absolutely unique in this world. You are not born on accident. And so don't die a carbon copy of nobody else. Come here giving your story and your story alone. That's what we all want to hear, and we're waiting for you.
Man, Speech, I appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Speech from Arrested Development, the founder. New album out, Don't Fight Your Demons. Documentary, movie, 16 bars. Find it, Netflix it, Google it, YouTube it. Just make sure you have the opportunity to watch it. You heard what he said. Don't be a carbon copy. If you need therapy, find a way to get therapy. Find someone in your village. Surround yourself with individuals who are going to hold you accountable They're gonna love on you,
Yep.
right? And at the end of the day, all we could do is be ourselves. So,
No doubt.
Speech, thank you so much for joining us on the show. I'm
Man, it
your
was
guy,
my
June
pleasure.
Archer. The Winner Circle here, motivate you. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless y'all. Be peace.